just wanted to say, don't believe it. Just like Werner von Braun told Carol Rosen, they're going to spring this on us, but don't believe it. But the other part of Bluebeam, especially if there's the Messiah in the sky, they have voice to skull technology. Now, how realistic would that be if you start hearing voices in your head like a schizophrenic that are telling you, yes, obey the Vatican, I am here, second coming, and all this stuff? Don't believe it. We have to keep our skeptical hat on because we know there's definitely an agenda. Their time is short, is very short. So the window to do this is really in the next 30 days. And with any luck, this dark cabal might be able to call off the inauguration or do whatever they can to keep this Trump from being 47 because they know it's game over for them if he does. So they've only got this narrow window of time, and the Sky Show is about to commence. Actually, it already has. And so a lot of these plasmoids are our own technology. They come out of DARPA. There are plenty of videos and research and patents if people want to look into it, how advanced this stuff is as weapon system, but also as a way to fake out the public. They know how gullible we are. They know how superstitious we are. And so to roll this out in this multi-pronged outlet would be the people of Earth just clamoring for a solution. As you said, the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. There's aliens in our skies. What are we going to do? Oh, the military is going to come in and save the day. Great, but we're going to have to take away all your human rights, and maybe you should go check into your nearest FEMA camp. So there's going to be some weirdness with all this. And unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes a mass casualty event. Some city gets shot up or a couple buildings blown up just to add the realism into the whole thing. We're still trying to wrap our heads around the plasma technology, which is very much the cutting edge of military strategy and weapons. China has it, Russia has it, and of course we have it. And so when people say, oh, the military doesn't know what it is, yeah, they do. Of course they do. And they're rolling it out. The black hat operation portions of our military are going along with this, namely the Air Force. So then you get Space Force, and they could be countering Bluebeam with their own drones. So it really blurs the line. Which are the goodies and which are the baddies? That's not their agenda. This is not an alien agenda. It's a human agenda.
That's what I was about to say, that, it's definitely us.
Yeah, it's definitely us. It's definitely the black hats are prepping us. We're in the beta phase of Bluebeam. So they're testing us. They want to see where the people go with this. Just as they have with the other false flags. There are precipitatory steps before they roll out the big Sky Show. And it's starting to get traction in the media. But like the last quote you read, why now? Why is it now? Unless they're prepping our minds, getting people used to the idea that, okay, aliens are here. See, they want to put it all on the aliens, right? It's not saying that these drones, they're not admitting that they're ours, certainly not admitting that the plasma type sightings are ours either. Well, it could be that we are heading towards a civil war of sorts. The Sky Show might be real fighting of mechanical drones, of course, because you can't shoot down a plasma, you can't shoot down a hologram. And I think Trump's given us a big tell there by saying, yeah, just shoot them down. Why would a future commander in chief and a former one who knows very well that there is an alien agenda, although he's always said, oh, I don't know anything about aliens. Yeah, right. But I think that's just cover for the disclosure that's about to begin. And that's really the white hat operation here, is just shedding light on this dark agenda, because the plan of the dark hats to do the Project Bluebeam would be total enslavement of humanity, to lock us down again, to go into transhumanism. I mean, it would make George Orwell roll over in his grave how bad the fascism will become if this plan were to go forward. So there is a conflicting agendas here, one to expose it and another to go forward with it. And so that's why I think about 50% of the drone sightings in the last couple weeks are really just make believe. Not that those lights aren't real, they are, but they're being misidentified.
Become a member on Patreon to get full access to all exclusive content. A few of the perks is the full-length ad-free video version of the interviews, face-to-face interviews, bonus shows, and behind-the-scenes footage. You will also receive the video interview way in advance before the audio-only interview gets dropped on all platforms. Sign up and become a member today for only $3 a month. The link is in the description.
Today on the show, I got Brad Olsen. It's been a while. Well, not too long. I think I had him back on in the spring, but he's a good friend of mine. I've interviewed him several times in the past. This is probably the fifth or sixth time I've had him on the show since the origin of Beyond Forbidden. But Brad, welcome back, man.
Hey, Michael, it's always good to be back on the Forbidden Network where we go beyond Forbidden here. It's
Yep.
just not just the normal Forbidden. We go beyond that.
Well, people say, like, why? Because every name, every podcast, for the most part, they have like a reason. Well,
Yeah.
because forbidden, I think everything, I wouldn't say everything, but knowledge, hidden knowledge, rather be conspiracies, the paranormal, whatever, are the elites, the deep state, whatever force is guiding them, whatever you want to call it. All of that is forbidden for us to know. The
Right.
transparency is like veiled. There's like a veil to keep us seeing through. To see what the truth is. And I want to go beyond the forbidden. I want, think of it like Area 51. It says forbidden. I want to go beyond
Yeah.
that gate and see what's really there. Well, there's probably
I
not
like
much there now. I don't know, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah. Well, I
so
do know what you mean because I did a 3-book series on esoteric subjects, and esoteric is somewhat like that which is forbidden or knowledge known by only a select few. And the third book in the series is beyond esoteric. So we got a similarity in that department.
yep. And something else that I think is kind of, I guess you could say, forbidden is the the truth or what the hell is going on with the drone situation. You know what I mean? I feel like our overseers in the government, they know what's going on, or at least a lot better to a degree than what we do. You know, I don't think they're like, what we don't know what these things are. You know,
Yeah.
but you go fly your own drone. Let's say you have you have some type of high tech crew. I'm talking about like highly sophisticated crew with unlimited budget, and Brad Olsen, go fly some drones, and you have this planned out for a year or two. You go fly some drones over the White House or Pentagon or whatever, they will find you. They
Yeah.
will, you know what I mean? Well, you can't tell me they don't know what this is. What's going on, man?
Well, remember the narrative started a couple weeks ago with the first drone sightings in New Jersey, and then of course it spread everywhere. Now it's across the country and even around the world. But at first it was, oh, it's Russia or Iran, but there's no way because how do you fly a drone halfway around the world just to fly over a town in New Jersey and then go away? So that narrative went away. Then it was, well, we're looking for dirty bombs. We're looking for any kind of radioactive signature that we can jump down on. Okay. But nothing ever came of that. You never saw these things fire. You never saw these things being fired at. And that's a tell. And I'll get to my theory, what's going on here in a moment, but just want to also preface by saying everybody's seen drones. A lot of us even have the little toy drones. Some of these are, of course, are very big. They say as big as a car. These are the mechanical drones, and even recreationalists can have very large drones with cameras on it. And it's not to say some of these sightings couldn't be some of them. But the really anomalous ones are these light signatures, these orbs that then transform into material mechanical planes or physical drones. And this is what's really interesting because a lot of people, of course, are first saying it's got to be aliens because in many ways we're not familiar with plasma in the sky. We're not familiar with this kind of aerial sighting. But I'll tell you, Michael, I'm getting emails and texts and video messages from friends and relatives around the world. For sure, they saw something and they're analyzing it, and almost everybody's like, we don't know what it is. It's got to be aliens. But I would suffice to say that there's a more logical explanation, and that is using Occam's razor when the simplest explanation is the truth. So we know that DARPA and other elements of the military industrial complex have been working with plasma technology for decades. This is not new at all. They just haven't shown it to the public. And so this is where they're catching us off guard because we're just not familiar with this kind of environment. But all the way back in the 1960s, they were using plasma to propel planes. And this is the technology behind what Putin was saying, these hypersonic missiles that can't be shot down. They're actually using plasma to open the field ahead of the missiles to prevent the drag. And so this is a new technology, very, very advanced in our eyes, our untrained eyes, but it has been around for a while. So why are they using it now? Well, we can get into that. And I think the last time I was on Beyond the Forbidden, we talked about Project Bluebeam and the whole potential for this fake alien invasion. But there's more to it than that. And I do describe Project Bluebeam in detail in my book Beyond Esoteric because it's a multi-pronged process. It's not just one alien attack somewhere in the world that we all flip out on. It happens over a period of time, and there are several stages that you go through to unleash Operation Bluebeam.
And don't lose your train of thought, and you can navigate this conversation however you want. Because this was kind of a quick notice, on our part. I just want to hurry and get you on and talk about this. But you mentioned the plasma technologies and all that, or just plasma. It could be some type of cosmic technology, whatever. We don't know what these things, the plasma is, but that could be what the Foo Fighters were in World War II that were spotted by pilots. Balls of energy, plasma. You know what I mean? And then maybe, like you said, it made me think that maybe we captured that ball, some of that essence, that ball of energy, or one of those Foo Fighters. I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe they somehow reversed engineered that plasma energy, or at least maybe like a copy. Like, you know what I mean? Like maybe it's not the source of the Foo Fighter or orb or plasma energy, but somehow weren't maybe they weren't able to create the identical thing, but maybe like a copy version, of just like this interview will download on to this computer. That's the original source. But I don't edit on this computer. I'm going to drag a copy of this interview onto an SD card and go interview and edit on my laptop. See what I'm saying?
Right.
It could be a copy of these technologies. Well, what do you think of all that?
Well, you make a great point because the Foo Fighters were a very real phenomenon in World War II. They were following the Allied bombers towards the end of the war, but they never shot down a plane. They never interacted. They were just sort of more observing or perhaps just escorting these planes to maybe scare the pilots. Also, remember MH370, that Malaysia plane that went missing 10 years ago. Video has come out, actually
Be
supplied by the
be
government,
be,
showing
be
orbs
careful,
around.
Brad. Be careful, Brad. I
Yeah.
do want this to go on YouTube now.
Okay. But there were orbs. Well, let's
Yeah.
call them Foo Fighters for lack of a better term. There were light orbs just doing a dance around the
Hmm.
plane. It's quite apparent in the video that has surfaced in the last couple of years, showing that they have this technology, that they could escort a plane, they can perhaps even guide it, perhaps in the case of this Malaysian flight that went missing. And that's a whole other can of worms we can deconstruct if we
And the
can.
orbs seen over this plasma, whatever, or what they said was UFOs. It's a preference of perception, I guess. Over was it Maelstrom? Maelstrom?
So the MH17 was flying over the Gulf of Thailand when it made very erroneous flight patterns to go around the Malay Peninsula and then around Sumatra. And then a few hundred miles later, it disappears in the Indian Ocean. But it never really disappears. They have tracking devices on those planes. They have uh, basically in the motor, which is built by Rolls-Royce on this particular flight. They can track that thing anywhere. Even if it crashes at the bottom of the ocean, they'll find it. But we were never told that.
I was kind of referring to the missile sites. Was it Mouse? Not Maelstrom.
Oh,
Was it
right, where
Maelstrom?
there were orbs flying over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's part of what's going on now with the drones is that there are all these anomalous sightings over very, very sensitive military bases. So if anybody's going to try to tell us that the military doesn't know what's going on, forget it, because they do. Look, ever since World War II, NORAD was created when the advent of radar. Everything is monitored in our airspace. So much so that they even have nicknames. Our planes, our airplanes all across the country on any given day time, they're called slow walkers. But when they see a UFO traveling at thousands of miles per hour and then making the telltale 90-degree turn and disappearing, those are called fast walkers. So NORAD knows everything about what's flying around. So it's just ridiculous to think that the military is just throwing up their hands. Well, we don't know. But I think it's a two-pronged battle here that there is a white hat element and there is a black hat element, which is Project Bluebeam. And they're both going down right now. These are actually the opening salvos of Operation Bluebeam.
the government reminds me of with you talking, talking about the government reminds me of the Goonies. Like the government, you could be like, I forgot that the creature's name or the uh baby roof. You know what I mean? It's like come on, man. Quit acting
Yeah,
dumb. They of course we know they are in they are practicing the denial that they've done over the
that's right.
decades. But before you get into Project Bluebeam and things like
Yeah.
that, and further into this, do you know John Stewart of the Alien interview?
You
John
mean the
Stewart?
comedian from The Daily Show?
No,
That
no, not him. He's the
okay.
one that does the alien interview investigation. He's on X,
Oh
Twitter,
yeah,
but
familiar with
he
him.
he posted this on X. This was him kind of responding to Lou Elizondo, and Lou Elizondo. He pulled the quote that Lou Elizondo replied back to John. Thank you, Lou Elizondo, for backing up for what my military intel asset told me today. The drones are state sponsored due their size, loiter capability, and ability to operate without line of sight. Let me share again what I was told today. This was what uh, Lou Elizondo replied back to John. Quote,
Yeah.
John, I believe these drones might be a part of a red cell operation, meaning that a certain highly classified branch within the military is conducting some type of operation to test national security. End quote. What do you think?
Very much in line with what I'm going to say about Project Bluebeam,
Go ahead.
being that we've known about this program since the late 1970s when the paperclip Nazi scientist Werner von Braun, which was one of the heads of starting up NASA when he came over from Germany after World War II, he had a good life here. He got a second chance. And towards the end of his life, on his deathbed, his protege, Carol Rosen, she took notes of what he was saying. And he basically had a change of heart and realized that there is a globalist cabal. They are infiltrating into our military industrial complex. I mean, look at Eisenhower's speech in 1960 warning about the misplaced powers in the military industrial complex. It's only grown out of proportion since then. And so Werner von Braun obviously was privy to the big master plan. And so at first he would say that there's going to be several stages leading up to Bluebeam. And it would be that first we're going to have a Cold War between the Soviet bloc and the NATO bloc. And that all happened until the collapse of the Soviet Empire. Then they'd find a new enemy, and it would be really hard to pin down this war on terror. What does that even mean? And we would just start all these wars, mostly in the Middle East, in service of a little country in the Eastern Mediterranean. And they would basically go odds with each other. So it would be basically the Western countries versus the Muslim countries. We've seen that all play out. So all of Werner von Braun's predictions have come true. And now he said the last card they're going to play is Project Bluebeam, the rollout of this fake alien invasion. He told Carol, but don't believe a word of it. It's going to be very believable. It's going to be very intense, and there will be mass casualty events around it. So it's going to be a very dangerous time, too, once the full scale so-called alien invasion takes place. And my friend in the conferences, the whistleblower super soldier Randy Kramer, we were at a conference a couple years ago. I was moderating the panel, and Randy told me, he goes, yeah, the military is all behind Project Bluebeam too. I said, how could that possibly be? How could there be justification for a mass casualty event? And he said, well, the military's basically boxed themselves into a corner. They have technology that is beyond our wildest dreams. This is also what the guy from Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Ben Rich, said on his deathbed, that we already have the technology to take ET home, that these projects are locked away in these black projects, and it would take an act of God to get rid of them, to open it up. So this technology is so locked in, Michael, that they've painted themselves into a corner. And so what Randy Kramer was saying is they need a demonstration of our latest and greatest technology. And what better way than to go along with this globalist Project Bluebeam plan? Because the last thing Werner von Braun said was they would use Project Bluebeam to usher in the New World Order, to usher in global governments around the world, because it will be a global phenomenon. When this happens, everybody in the world is going to know. And so therefore, we are going to be clamoring for U.S. military, save us. Okay, we're going to break out our TR-3B triangle craft and show the world, and our plasma technology, and show the world that we're here to save them. So then the military ends up the good guys, right? Because they save the day. They roll in like the cowboy wearing the white hat.
Hegelian
And
dialectic, problem,
yeah,
reaction, solution.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then they don't have to justify holding all this technology secret, because now it's going to get out and they're going to tell the world. And so that's why some elements of our military are going along with this, especially the Air Force. And the Air Force is still a black hat operation. Why? Well, they're still chemtrail in the skies. They still own the skies and the airspace. They're not doing anything about the chemtrails. We had huge chemtrails in my valley just yesterday. So they're still definitely doing it, not telling us the truth about what that's all about. There are elements in the military that are white hats, including Space Force, which is countering them. And this is going to be the showdown, really, of our military forces and this globalist plan, which I think can be traced back to the Vatican. And do you know, on Christmas Eve, the Pope says he's going to open 5 portals in the Vatican. So on Christmas Day, don't be surprised if some of those orbs, those plasmoids, morph into angels or possibly even the Messiah. And that is actually part of the Project Bluebeam rollout, that there would be these religious icons around the world, including Mohammed in Islam countries or Buddha out in the Asian countries, maybe even indigenous deities around some of our Indian reservations or indigenous cultures around the world. It's going to be a worldwide phenomenon. But the end goal is always, like Werner von Braun said, to usher in this new world order agenda.
And a lot of people like with the term, the phrase or Project Bluebeam. It's kind of it is a overarching type of word, I guess, kind of like Illuminati, whatever. But
Mm.
that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Um, Basically, because a lot of people are like, oh, that's Serge Monas, talking about, he was a crazy guy talking about Project Bluebeam, but the fact is, the principle of the matter is that they have these technologies to create this mass hysteria
Yes.
to fulfill whatever type of agenda that they have. It just like I said, problem reaction solution. And to go on what this was also off Twitter. Also, this was at Larry63200614. He said, quote, number one, drones are probably from U.S. government, military, and maybe also from China, being facilitated by Biden U.S. administration. Number two, there are also orbs in the sky, which are probably Project Bluebeam, holographic images in the sky pretending to attack the drones, etc. Number three, all of this is to create fear in U.S. citizens so undesirable things can be done to U.S. citizens to, quote, protect us. Number four, all of this, the drones flying the orbs are all gaslighting operations, psyops used to trick you. Number five, there is likely no nuke sniffing going on with the drones either. Number six, why now? The current administration is doing whatever it can to confuse and distract and create psyops to throw monkey wrenches into the change of power happening a month from now, from Biden to Trump. And Biden administration works with China because Biden is a communist.
Yeah, really great points. I would agree with all of them. And isn't it interesting that just in the last year, year and a half, how the media has glommed on to UFOs visiting Earth? It was just a year ago last May that Lester Holt gets on NBC Nightly News and said the Pentagon has just released a report that there's a mothership in the orbit of Jupiter. How is this not the biggest news story we've ever heard in our lives? We should still be talking about it, but it was a one
Mm-hmm.
and done. So this is classic predictive programming, Michael. Then you have all these congressional hearings with David Grush and Lou Elizondo and many others. Stephen Greer did another one of his disclosure press briefings, and it's starting to get traction in the media. But like the last quote you read, why now? Why is it now? Unless they're prepping our minds, getting people used to the idea that, okay, aliens are here. See, they want to put it all on the aliens, right? It's not saying that these drones, they're not admitting that they're ours, certainly not admitting that the plasma type sightings are ours either. I actually had a great conversation with Stephen Greer in August. We were both at the Conscious Awards down in Miami, and we were on a cruise right before we went to the award ceremony. And I had a one-on-one with him for about 20 minutes. It was great. All my questions I could think of got answered. And one of them was, Dr. Greer, you obviously been deep in this for many decades. At this point in time, what would you say is a percentage? How many of the sky sightings that we see are ours or theirs? Ours being military or clandestine operations, the black projects, theirs being aliens, UFO. He said 80% ours. So 80% of the worldwide sightings of UFOs are actually just very much terrestrial, backward engineered technology that gets seen and filmed by average, ordinary people. Only 20% are actual alien UFOs. And Michael, you and I have been talking about
Mm-hmm.
aliens and UFOs. You got your I Want to Believe poster right behind you. I mean, we've been in this for decades as well,
Mm-hmm.
studying this at a time when it was not even cool to talk about aliens. But now the normies are starting to wake up and see, okay, I guess we are being
I
infiltrated.
started podcasting in 2010 when podcasting wasn't cool, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But do you think since 2017, December 2017, and a fun fact, I was actually interviewing Richard Hoagland the same day that the New York Times dropped that article. Um and I had notes about other stuff that he was talking about. He came on, he said, Michael, whatever you was wanting to talk about, scratch it. We're talking about. I didn't even know about it. I was busy. I just got in from work. And I didn't even see the article yet. And then
Mm.
he told me, I was like, oh my God. Anyways, do you think that since 2017 onwards until now, with everything, congressional hearings, tic tacs, people coming forward from military, um, to the balloons, to the drones, to everything. Do you think all of this is some type of highly sophisticated, orchestrated maneuver by the government for some particular outcome? Like, is
Yeah,
it all incremental for whatever? Things just don't happen overnight. So it
no.
took since to maybe 2017 up until now to kind of roll things out.
Yeah, and you and I know there are no coincidences
Mm-mm.
that these things are being rolled out over time. It's been meticulously planned for quite a long time, and it is time now. Look, we got 30 days until the new president is sworn in, and I've even heard some of these drones are out to get him. If they can kill Trump, they can find him, they would, because they're desperate. They're very desperate. And a lot of people know about Project Bluebeam is the other thing. So their time is short. But what I'm going to lay out here is that it has to do with this global governance, this dark cabal that has been ruling this planet for millennia, not just since Eisenhower said the military industrial complex. They've gotten control of the military industrial complex. They are funding it. And who is they? Well, I did a couple interviews on the flat earth. I've been down to Antarctica 6 years ago and I've had to debate these people. And it wasn't until about 15 years ago, nobody in this field talked about flat earth. And all of a sudden, these
Mm-hmm.
very slick videos come out that had money and production value behind them. And you're not just an armchair alternative journalist banging these things out. They're very sophisticated and expensive to produce, but believable. So
Mm-hmm.
Gene Decode and also Wano Savin were also getting to the bottom of it, and they found that just like the old journalistic adage, if you can't make sense of a story, follow the money. And they were able to follow the money to DARPA, and DARPA was getting its funding from the Vatican. So, what does the Bible tell us? They say it's a flat earth. Well, that's good because then people believe in the firmament and the gods above, God above, and all the angels and all that. Keep people superstitious. Um, but the point is, it's the same funding that's going into Project Bluebeam. And we should also mention that anytime you hear the word blue, so Project Blue Book or blue beam. Anytime you hear the word blue, it refers to aliens.
Hmm.
And so this has always been the plan to launch our connection with the visitors from far away. Although they're not really from far away. Not only are 80% right here terrestrial craft, but what about the inner terrestrials? What about those that are coming from the underground bases and the inner earth terrain? And that is very real. And
Those are
then
the
the
ones that I
ultra,
think that's been here for a very long time, guiding and manipulating events on the surface world for thousands of years.
yeah, absolutely. This is a prison planet and we just got stuck here. But I think we came here voluntarily in a spiritual form at this very time and age to be adults in the prime of our lives. You have a platform, I have a book publishing business, and we're doing the best we can to help
Mm.
inform people because that's really what this is all about. We are in a disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation, the new word they just came up with, which is when the government doesn't like what you're saying, even though it's true, they'll censor you. So we're in a
Yeah.
very strange time right now, but it's a time when cool heads need to prevail because it's going to be a dangerous time too. And we're in the opening salvos of Project Bluebeam. In my mind, there's no doubt about it. So let me just preface by saying, sure, there are recreational drones. There could be Hollywood movie studio drones up there. We all know it. We've seen them, played with them ourselves. There are also military drones. We see the suicide attacks in Russia using drones and vice versa with Ukraine. It's a dangerous world out there. There's technology that does go beyond our wildest dreams, but a lot of it is still bottled up in these black projects. So as we move into this new phase, this beginning opening period of Project Bluebeam, they're also going to use holograms. I don't know if you saw the
The
tweets
Space
that were going
Needle.
out about putting up satellites
Oh, okay.
in the last few weeks. Yeah, some guys that were working with some of these private contractors saying there's these secret satellites that are going up. Nobody knows what they're being used for, but the feeling was they're going to have something to do with the sky show. And let's just use that as a general term for all the things we're going to see, from the drones to the angels emerging out of the Vatican on Christmas Day to the fake alien invasion. Holograms are extremely realistic now. Look, Michael Jackson was just on tour as a hologram. So is Tupac Shakur. You can see the videos of whales jumping out of the floor of a mall or a dragon flying around a baseball stadium. Very three dimensional. They look totally real. To the untrained eye, you would not know the difference.
I don't know if you
So,
saw the Space Needle in Seattle a few years ago, New Year's Eve, I think it was.
yeah,
Man, remarkable.
was that a dragon wrapping itself around?
Uh it was all types of stuff. I don't remember. It's been a little while since I saw the video, but man, and that's just on the surface world what they have. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, what do they have in these deep black programs?
that's what I'm trying to explain. It goes so deep because we're still trying to wrap our heads around the plasma technology, which is very much the cutting edge of military strategy and weapons. China has it, Russia has it, and of course we have it. And so when people say, oh, the military doesn't know what it is, yeah, they do. Of course they do. And they're rolling it out. The black hat operation portions of our military are going along with this, namely the Air Force. So then you get Space Force, and they could be countering Blue Beam with their own drones. So it really blurs the line. Which are the goodies and which are the baddies here?
I think a part of
And
that, Brad, is I think I think they know that a lot of us, even people that aren't in this research community, trying to get to the bottom of this, they know vast majority know or have heard of Project Bluebeam or whatever. Maybe they want us to we just we second guess everything. We don't know what's real or what's not real. So
Yeah.
that creates like this type of schism or this mass type of psychological hysteria to where that puts us in fear. So when we're in that constant state, we're more easily kind of like we're in that constant perpetual state of Stockholm syndrome, to where we abide by our oppressors, and because we don't know what's going on, like, is it real? We all this confusion, like, oh, this got to be fake, then, but kind of what's going on with the drones, but it's going to be a lot worse. It's just going to be just constant, like all the time, something's going to be happening to where like we're going to be demanding for the government to intervene and to do something, you know,
Yeah.
and that's really not a good thing, because then more laws get cracked down, more control, and it just creates this yo-yo effect within our subconscious minds to where we're going up and down with what reality really is, and it keeps us confused, and it just keeps us kind of dumbed down, and
Sure.
while they pretty much hold the keys to the universe.
Hmm. Well, do you remember Trump's reply to the drones over New Jersey about a week ago? He said, "We'll just shoot them down." Well, the military doesn't shoot down their own in any
That's a
conventional
telltale sign,
way.
Brad. That's a
That's a
telltale
big tell
sign,
right there. It
because come
is.
on, man, if you do that, they're shooting your shit down. You know what I
Then
mean?
it's a civil war, right?
Yeah. If you fly drones over, they're shooting your stuff down.
Right.
But
Especially over these sensitive military establishments.
it's a telltale sign that, the collaboration with these NGOs.
Yeah. So when Trump says shoot them down, maybe he's giving us the clue that this is really blue beam. Because of course you can't shoot down a hologram or a plasmoid. They would just it wouldn't just keep traveling on right through it. It's just light, or plasma is in between a gas and a solid, but it wouldn't take a missile
There have been
or
some
a
reports
mechanical
of
object.
some, I think, down. Do you think those are possibly just regular recreational civilian?
It could be that, could be even a military one,
Or
just
do or do you think they're
malfunction.
using or do you think it's possible they're using both technologies to kind of see which
Yeah.
protocol works best?
Well, it could be that we are heading towards a civil war of sorts. The Sky Show might be real fighting of mechanical drones, of course, because you can't shoot down a plasma, you can't shoot down a hologram. And I think Trump's given us a big tell there by saying, yeah, just shoot them down. Why would a future commander in chief and a former one who knows very well that there is an alien agenda, although he's always said, oh, I don't know anything about aliens. Yeah, right. But I think that's just cover for the disclosure that's about to begin. And that's really the white hat operation here, is just shedding light on this dark agenda, because the plan of the dark hats to do the Project Bluebeam would be total enslavement of humanity, to lock us down again, to go into transhumanism. I mean, it would make George Orwell roll over in his grave how bad the fascism will become if this plan were to go forward. So there is a conflicting agendas here, one to expose it and another to go forward with it. And so that's why I think about 50% of the drone sightings in the last couple weeks are really just make believe. Not that those lights aren't real, they are, but they're being misidentified. And I've also seen some videos that people have sent me. There was one in Las Vegas in broad daylight. Okay, millions of people should have seen it. There should have been a whole bunch of corroborating videos from the ground. But some guys on the top of a casino, and I could tell you, I've been to Vegas many times. My girlfriend's down there. You can't get on the roof of a casino. In fact, you can't even open a window in a casino hotel room because people lose their ass and jump and commit suicide. So it'd be very difficult to do a 360 view, which looked to me like a drone, but we know computer generated. They put in this UFO, which looks like the Black Knight satellite. There's another one. Just rib them a little bit more, give them what they want to see, and say it's all aliens. Blame it all on the aliens, right? Look, if the aliens wanted to take over Earth, they could have done it a long time ago. before we even had competing weapons to fight back. That's not their agenda. This is not an alien agenda. It's a human agenda.
That's what I was about
And
to say. That it's definitely us.
yeah, it's definitely us. It's definitely the black hats are prepping us. We're in the beta phase of Bluebeam. So they're testing us. They want to see where the people go with this, just as they have with the other false flags. There are precipitatory steps before they roll out the big sky show. And so they're seeing, yeah, everybody's tweeting, it's got to be aliens. We've never seen anything like this. But that's the funny thing about you and me being in the UFO field for as long as we have. We tend to be the biggest skeptics that it's something alien because we have a pretty good idea of what alien really is and their motives, which is not to attack Earth. They don't want to see us go into World War III, at least the benevolent ones, but they're standing back. They're just watching this. This is the greatest show in the universe right now. What happens on planet Earth? I mean, season 2024 is the climax. And boy, 2025, the final season, that's going to be off the hooks with
Isn't it
ratings.
weird? Isn't it weird? And we'll be rounding things up here in a moment. But and I appreciate you coming on for this quick notice. Um, isn't it weird that all of this is coming to a head whenever the Deagle report had something several years ago about 2025? You know,
Yeah,
isn't it weird?
it is weird. And there have been predictions that Blue Beam would be in this time frame from decades ago, from a CIA guy with that raspy voice. I want to tell these children they have no idea what's going to happen in their future, and they're going to launch this alien invasion and then bring in the New World Order. So, in conclusion here, Michael, because I know we wanted to do a quick one here,
Yep.
just wanted to say, don't believe it. Just like Werner von Braun told Carol Rosen, they're going to spring this on us, but don't believe it. But the other part of Bluebeam, especially if there's the Messiah in the sky, they have voice to skull technology. Now, how realistic would that be if you start hearing voices in your head like a schizophrenic that are telling you, yes, obey the Vatican, I am here, second coming, and all this stuff? Don't believe it. We have to keep our skeptical hat on because we know there's definitely an agenda. Their time is short, is very short. So the window to do this is really in the next 30 days. And with any luck, this dark cabal might be able to call off the inauguration or do whatever they can to keep this Trump from being 47 because they know it's game over for them if he does. So they've only got this narrow window of time, and the Sky Show is about to commence. Actually, it already has. And so a lot of these plasmoids are our own technology. They come out of DARPA. There are plenty of videos and research and patents if people want to look into it, how advanced this stuff is as weapon system, but also as a way to fake out the public. They know how gullible we are. They know how superstitious we are. And so to roll this out in this multi-pronged uh, outlet would be the people of Earth just clamoring for a solution. As you said, the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. There's aliens in our skies. What are we going to do? Oh, the military is going to come in and save the day. Great, but we're going to have to take away all your human rights, and maybe you should go check into your nearest FEMA camp. So there's going to be some weirdness with all this, and unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes a mass casualty event. Some city gets shot up or a couple buildings blown up just to add the realism into the whole thing, because they absolutely have to project this idea that it's these baddie aliens coming here to attack. Look, I mean, look at just the percentage of Hollywood movies which are bad aliens versus good aliens. About 9 to 1. 90% are all the bad aliens coming here, the War of the Worlds. And just in final, isn't it interesting that the first of these drone sightings came out of New Jersey? What also came out of New Jersey with an alien advance? technology. And that
George
was the War
Orwell's
of the
War of the Worlds.
Worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, in late 1930s. So funny, New Jersey should be the brunt of all this, but it is what it is. So I just want to say in closing to everybody, just keep your skeptic hat on, assume it's fake. Just make that assumption. Not fake that what you're seeing isn't real. It is. The narrative of what's behind it is fake. And they're going to try to use this to usher us into this globalist one world government.
Well, Brad Olsen, thank you very much for coming on for this short notice to I want to get your thoughts on what's going on with all this hysteria and kind of get a little bit closer to the truth and the bottom of this. But man, look forward to many more conversations down the road, like we always do, at least once or twice a year. Thank you very much, Brad.
Oh, you're very welcome, Michael. Great to be on, and thanks for having me on because I think this is a very important subject for people to consider all sides of the coin here. Don't just believe what the TV is telling you. Look at all the different variables. And the technology is very advanced right now. And so we're seeing the rollout of that advanced technology.